What do we know of the world? Earth, from the perspective of life, Earth is our home. It's what gives us the air to breathe, the food to eat, and the space to live. But deep down, our world is in constant state of change. Plate tectonics is a scientific theory that illustrates the constant state of change in the Earth's outermost layer, better known as the lithosphere. Over billions of years, these plates are moving relative to each other and at different rates. The relationship between these plates are what are responsible for Earth's beautiful features like the Himalayan mountains or the Appalachians. But not everything on Earth is always so beautiful. To get a better understanding of plate tectonics and how they influence our everyday lives, let's look at a country who's often subject to these earth changes. The country of Japan, known for their food, tourism, cherry blossoms, and their honor and faith. It wasn't until March 11 of the year 2011 that Japan was going to be known for their biggest earthquake yet. At 2:46 p.m., Japan got an earthquake with a magnitude of 9.0 right off the northeastern coast of Honshu, later to be called the Great Sendai Earthquake. The earthquake was due to a major rupture of the subduction zone that had stretched across the Japanese Trench. The tectonic setting in this event was an oceanic plate that interacted with a continental plate. The plates in question are the Eurasian Plate and the Pacific Ocean Plate. The amount that had subducted underneath the Eurasian Plate was over 190 miles long and 95 miles wide. It was reported later that the earthquake could be felt as far as Russia, Taiwan, and Beijing. The powerful earthquake was preceded by several aftershocks, which caused widespread damage across the country. This initiated powerful tsunami waves that unleashed upon the Japanese citizens only 30 minutes later. The result of the tsunami flooded over 200 square miles of coastal land, with waves 38 meters or 114 feet high. This mass flooding negatively impacted the lives of humans, as well as local wildlife. Endangered sea turtles who lay eggs along the coast had their nests destroyed. The flood swept species of fish and seals onto the land. Due to the sheer destruction and damage of the tsunami, the Japanese citizens were subject to a nuclear crisis at the Fukushima nuclear complex. This had even further impacted their safety and well-being, as well as their economy and environment. Days following the disaster, people within a 12.5-mile radius of the nuclear power plant needed to be evacuated due to the high risk of radiation exposure. Fisheries and chicken hatcheries were among the many animal and agricultural facilities that were destroyed, leaving many Japanese prefectures with a shortage of food. Nuclear waste and radiation was found in the region's soils, air, and seawater. It is still reported to be leaking even after 10 years later. Over 24,000 people were killed or missing. Over 5,000 were injured, and 140,000 had to evacuate their homes. Out of the 140,000 people, 117,000 remained in shelters even months later. As a result of the aftermath, over 1,600 schools, which equated to about 69% of all the schools in the region, were damaged and/or collapsed. The entire natural disaster cost the country of Japan over $309 billion. You might be wondering why I chose Japan for this particular topic. I chose it because I lived in Japan for the last 4 years prior to moving to North Carolina just recently. During my time there, I met so many people that were negatively impacted by the earthquake and the events that followed. Even 10 years later, they are still working hard to rebuild and recover what they lost. I was able to climb Mount Fuji, as well as visit the Tokyo Light Museum. There I lived in a very small apartment with my 2 cats, Leo and Milo. I met my husband, Chris, where years after we moved back to the United States to North Carolina.